You know, you can't judge a book by its cover. This paperback is a very thick paperback in the new format that we have. I remember Rise and Fall of the Third Reich when it came out in paperback. It was a great, big, thick paperback like this. And some people say, oh, can't you put it in hardbound? Can't you have it in leather bound? Can't you change this format or that format? And what they don't understand is that we are putting the Bible in a digital format all over the world. Apple, Google Play, Amazon Fire, Barnes & Noble Nook, you name it, it's there. And we're trying to make it accessible everywhere. And we're trying to make it accessible at either cost or free of charge. But you know what? If you get a paperback like this, a big thick paper back like this, you have to break it in. You see what I'm doing here? If I did that maybe 100 times, I'd have it broke in. And the glue is very strong. It's not going to come apart. But see, look, what I'm trying to tell you here is I don't have that much time. And in the little time that I have to leave this, I want to tell you that if you have a pseudo Messianic translation that really doesn't deliver the goods, and you're so impressed with the cover and how expensive it is and how beautiful it is and the book design and the weight of the pages and that it's hardbound or leatherbound and all this, you're being penny wise and pound foolish, and not even very penny wise, because what you're neglecting is the real substance of it. Now, everybody knows about the scandals that we had in years past that had to do with the bullet-proof vest. The cheap manufacturers, the guys that were looking at the financial bottom line, who weren't really out there, depending on this equipment, either as a law enforcement officer or as a soldier, where this thing has to stop the bullet. It cannot be cheap. It's got to get the job done. And what? Let me ask you, why would God start me out as a street preacher? Do you think you can get a street preacher to go on the street with a pseudo-Messianic translation, a JW translation, some kind of weak, watered down? Look, when Yeshua says, glorify me, Father, Avi, with the glory that I had with you before the creation of the world. Amen. You don't think he's referring to the wisdom that was with God, the Oman, Etzel, at his side, alongside of him, before all creation, which is what that phrase means in Proverbs 8:22. You think you know better how to translate Proverbs 8:22 than Yeshua, who does this? Or what about Yohanan? Or let me ask you this. If Rav Shaul is going into the shul, and he's got his Bible, and he's wanting to, show that wisdom personified was actually the Mashiach, the Logos, that is the Logos of God, the wisdom that was with God in the beginning, through whom everything that was created was created. So here's Rav Shaul. He's going into the shul. He's going to show that Yeshua was right when he said that the whole Bible was about him. The Torah, the Nevi'im, the Ketuvim. Remember Luke chapter 24. All Scripture is given of inspiration of God. So here you are. You're going to tap Paul on the shoulder and you say, now, Paul, look, we want to give you a pseudo-Messianic translation that waters down Proverbs 8:22 and all these other scriptures. And we want you to go into the shul and use that. Do you think he would? Do Do you think that he would really appreciate your objection to 1 Corinthians 1:30, where he calls Yeshua the wisdom of God? And what about Yohanan? John chapter 1, verse 1, Genesis 1:1, Revelation 19:13, Revelation, or I should say John chapter 17, verse 5, Psalm 33:6, 1 Corinthians 8:6, Colossians 1:16, Hebrews 1:2, Revelation 3:14, Revelation 5, or I should say John 5:26, 1 John 1, verse 2, and John chapter 8, verse 12, and John chapter 3, verse 19, or I should say 1 John 3:19, or John 12:35, or Isaiah 9:1, or all these scriptures that show that the wisdom of God by the word of the Lord were the heavens made, that God spoke and he said, let there be light. And when the light came into the world, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever walks in me will not walk in darkness. And you want to water all that down with your pseudo Messianic translation. And you want to water down Hebrews 4:12 and Revelation 19:13 as it is alluded to in the Tanakh. We're talking about the Tanakh. Listen, when I went out on the street, and I still do, to preach to Orthodox Jews, I wanted a Tanakh that was rich in these scriptures and powerful. In other words, I wanted a bulletproof vest that would actually stop the bullet. And you guys out there who don't do street preaching, but you're so effete with your little salon of your little Messianic translation, you like this and you like that. You're like these industrialists that love money and want to pinch pennies, and they don't really care about the bulletproof vest because they don't have to wear one. And you're not doing any street preaching. And you say, wait a minute, this Goebel is trying to let on like being a street preacher makes him a cut above. What pride, what hubris. No, friend, I'm talking about stopping the bullet of the devil. The bullet of the devil that wants to water down the scriptures and twist the scriptures to their own destruction. Now, I'm going to talk to you just for a minute about sapiential literature, but I'm going to focus on one word. And I'm going to show you how it's used throughout the entire Bible. And I want you to know this, friend. It's important to know this because, you see, I spent 30 years actually looking at these words. I didn't say, well, the Syriac says this, and the Peshitta says this, and this says this, so maybe I should do it this way. Maybe, well, what if that Syriac translator was wrong? The Bible has to interpret itself, friend. You have to let the Bible speak. And so, look, this word, kana, kof, nun, he. In Genesis 4:1, I've gotten a man. I've acquired a man. In Genesis 14:19, there's Abraham and Melchizedek, and they're talking about the possessions and who should tithe to who, and what possessions you have and what possessions I have. And then they start talking about God's possessor. He's the possessor of heaven and earth. Genesis 14:19 and 14:22. Genesis 25:10, which Abraham purchased. Genesis 33:19, he bought a parcel. Genesis 39:1, bought him of the hands. 47:19, buy. 47:20, bought. 47:22, buy. Genesis 47:23, bought. Genesis 49:30, bought. Genesis 50 verse 13, bought. Exodus 15:16, purchased. Exodus 21:2, buy. Leviticus 22:11, buy. Leviticus 25:14, biased. You say, I don't like the King James Version. They put biased instead of by. Friend, don't strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Those guys knew what they were doing. They were going to shut the Arian JWs, who didn't even exist then, but they're here now. They were going to shut them out of the Bible. And how did they do that? By rightly interpreting the Word of God. By making that word a commercial word, which is what it is. Leviticus 25:28, 25:30, 25:40, 25:45, 25:50, 27:24. You get into Deuteronomy 28:68, 32:6, 24:32 of Joshua, Ruth 4:4. Buy it, buy it, buy it. Buy the land. Buy us the field. Ruth 4:5. Ruth 4. It's always about possessing, acquiring, or buying. It's never about creating. It's never used that word. You say, wait a minute, God blank the heavens and the earth. Oh, it has to be creator of the heavens and the earth, right? Possessor of the heavens and the earth? We're not thinking about that, are we? Look, you're guessing. We don't guess about this stuff. You don't look at the Syriac translator and say, well, he said this, or the... No, you don't guess like that. You look and see how the word is used throughout the entire Bible. 2 Samuel 12:3, bought. 2 Samuel 24:21, buy. 24:24, buy. I could go on and on. 1 Kings 16:24, or 2 Kings 12:12, or 22:6, or 1 Chronicles 21:24, talking about buying the land for the Beis Hamikdash. Or 21:24, or 2 Chronicles 34:11, or Nehemiah 5:8. And then you get into the Psalms, 74:2, purchased, or 78:54, purchased, or Psalm 139 verse 13, possessed. You possessed my innermost being. It was part of what you owned. You see, the thing is, God owns, he owns everything. He owns the stars in the sky. He owns the heavens and the earth. He owned the Gan Eden. He told the first couple there, look, this is my place. Live by the rules. You can eat from any tree, just don't eat from that tree over there. And look, does God own that tree? Aren't we in charge here? Can't we do what we want to do? Can't we translate Kof Nun Hey any way we want? Can't we minimize the sapiential aspect of Yeshua and the messiology of the Messiah's, the study of the Messiah, his personhood, his ontology? Can't we just kind of water that down if we want to? And if we sell a so-called Messianic Bible, a pseudo-Messianic Bible, and it looks so good, the cover's so nice, the paper's so thin, well, surely we can pawn that off on people. Listen, friend, I didn't go through everything I've gone through to hand the Tanakh over to the JWs or to the Arians. I don't like your Arian Messianic Tanakh. And I don't care who you are. And I don't care where you studied. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 5. Acquire wisdom. You don't create it. You get it. Proverbs 4:5, 4:7, 8:22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his ways. I was with him as an Oman Etzel, a skilled workman at his side. Glorify me with the glory that I had when I was with you before the creation of the world. You want to argue with Yeshua? Whatever you get understanding. Look, if Eve got a man, then you should get understanding. Proverbs 16:16, 16:16, 17:16, 18:15, 19:8, 20:14, Proverbs 23:23, Ecclesiastes 2:7. Solomon's talking about all the things he got, all the things he acquired. I got servants and maidens, he says. The ox knows his owner, Isaiah 1:3. If the ox knows his owner, how come you don't know how to translate one of the most important words in the Tanakh, where the very ontological, sapiential freight of the Brit Hadashah rests? Listen, friend, it's all through the Brit Hadashah. You're trying to say that all those writers, Yohanan, Paul, the author of Hebrews and all that they didn't know how to translate or understand Kof Nun Hey, but you do. You do. A Johnny come lately like you. Isaiah 1:3, Isaiah 11:11, Isaiah 24:2, 43:24, Jeremiah 13:1. All through Jeremiah, where he's talking about getting a belt or acquiring land after the or in anticipation of the return and all that. 19:1, 32:7, 32:7, 32:8, 32:9. I bought the field. Jeremiah 32:15, 32:25, 32:43, 32:44. Ezekiel 7:12, 8:3, Amos 8:6, Zechariah 11:5, Zechariah 13:5. Here, I've gone through every occurrence of Kof Nun Hey. And I'm not going to sell out for you or anybody else. This Bible took 30 years. Don't judge a book by its cover. It doesn't matter that it's paperback and shrink wrapped so that we can throw it into the Hasidic yards. We can't afford to throw them a leather-bound book. If anybody who's watching this video can prove that I'm wrong, then I'll give them a free copy of this. And I'll gladly do it. Because this will prove that I'm not wrong. I'm right. And it's not about me. It's about the Word of God. And while you were doing what you were doing for the last 30 or 40 years, I was looking at Kof Nun Hey. And not just that word, but every one of these Hebrew words. And I was looking at them like a street preacher who knows he's got to go out on the street and there's going to be people threatening to beat him up. And there's going to be rabbis walking by and saying, "Ignoramus, you don't know the Tanakh." And I was loading my gun with the ammunition. And I was putting on my bulletproof vest. And I was preparing to do battle. I wasn't some tightwad sitting around in a salon thinking about, well, I love money, so what can we cut costs on? How can we sell a Bible and make maximum profit? I know, let's get an imitation leather binding. So it looks like leather and they think they're getting leather, but they're really not. Listen,